Riley Perkins says, in America, there's a machine called the claw. It's a cube of clear plastic with stuffed toys in the bottom. At the top is a metal grabber called the claw. You put your money in and have about 1 minute to control the claw and grab a toy. Drop it into a chute so that it slides to the outside. Somehow, the claw reminds me of Medusa. I don't know who you're referring to, my dear. Medusa. Could it be someone else whose name begins with M? I can only hazard a guess, or haggard a guess. The claw, yes, we have those machines here in the fairgrounds of England as well, my dear. And I think you make a very joyously naughty comparison to that Duchess of Lies. Because you draw a great comparison with the opportunism that she's displayed throughout her life, and you see, in very many ways they say that one of the ingredients for success is meeting opportunity with preparation. And it's true, and there's nothing wrong with that, and there's nothing wrong with ambition. But you receive these opportunities and embrace them with a hand. With a hand, and not a claw. You see, there is that distinction in the way that you grab these opportunities. Yes, they are there to be grabbed, yes. But it is in the way that you do it, the way you treat people, and you do it not at the detriment to other people, other families, other individuals, trampling all over them. No truer line was spoken than, take what you do, it's the way that you do it. The way that you do it matters. Who would ever object to the firm grasp of a sporty, competitive, but friendly, embracing hand? That wonderfully masculine grip of the hand of somebody who will take you in a handshake, look you in the eye, and you see and sense the strong character. There's that way, or there is this spindly claw-like hand with talons on the end of it that reaches out to strike, just like that claw that you describe in the machine, and sees those cute teddies there, those cute teddies and those cute toys, and digs those talons into them, scrambles around to get what they can in the mixture, in this dolly mixture of teddy bears, and plunges it down the chute. That's what they call being Meghan Markled. Audrey Kennedy. Harry gave a speech that barely mentioned Mandela. Why did he agree to something so stupid? It only makes him look worse and worse. Can't he think for himself? Well, you answered the question yourself, my dear. He agreed to that speech because it gave him an opportunity to barely mention Mandela. He has no interest in speaking about Mandela, but they are drawn like moths to the flame when it comes to any opportunity to speak about someone black, to associate themselves with people of colour, with countries that are associated with hard times, apartheid, destitution, anything that can make the Duke and Duchess of Lies look like they are saviours reaching their claws out to the world to lift them up and ennoble them. They are drawn to these opportunities like bees to honey, or like flies to a great big steaming pile of turd. They run to associate themselves with characters like Nelson Mandela so that they can hasten Mr. Mandela's glory, his stardust, his sprinkling of fairy magic to rub off on them. That's their aim. That's what they hope. They hope that by associating themselves with all that is great and good in the world, like the noble Nelson Mandela, they think that they are going to bask in its reflected glory. That's their aim. That's been Meghan's strategy her entire life. And she's chaperoning this hubby of hers. She's taken this hapless second seat, second tier, second row, second hand, don't you mention second hand Susie, because she's a true queen, my dear, my old mate second hand Susie. She understands vintage royalty. But taking second-hand Susie out of the equation, my dear, everything else that is second-rate belongs to this second-hand prince. And it's only going downhill under her influence. She's training him up. And the irony of this whole situation is the fact that he was already closely aligned to Her Majesty, who radiates goodness, duty in a way that is unsurpassed in living memory. When Vogue magazine asked Marcolina to list her most influential women or most beloved, fantastic women, whatever it was, it didn't cross her mind, did it? To put forth the Queen. Too white. That's just not fashionable enough for Hollywood. That's just not right on. I mean, it didn't even cross her mind, did it? To put her Queen in that mix of 20 people or whoever it was. Jane Fonda got a mention. And I'm a big fan of Jane Fonda, by the way. I'm not talking about her politics. I'm talking about Barbarella, of course, and Grace and Frankie. So, no shade to the woman. But yeah, she'll go for a Jane Fonda over Her Majesty. You don't join a firm and an institution with the intention to tear it apart from within on the pretext of strengthening it, of adding value to it, and authenticity. You damage it willfully, like seeing a beautiful red ripe apple and sending in a maggot to the centre of it to munch away from the inside, chewing through that green and verdant flesh of the apple. The maggot inside rots it from the inside of that apple. And that is exactly what happened to our fabulous institution of royalty and the royal palaces. And yes, Georgie Kennedy, the irony is, of course, that it does only make him look worse and worse. It only makes him look worse and worse. But when will he realise that? If he is surrounded by yes men and women who only slap him on the back for this, oh well done, and he goes and gets his little attention from Mamma Mia like a lapdog. Did I please you, Mama? Did I please you, Mama? Of course, my dear. There's a biscuit for you. There's a cookie for you, Hash. You did so well. Then when is he ever going to learn the lesson? When is he ever going to get his butt in a gear? Grammy T.I. says, Has-been and his first wife Has-been and his first wife step on far too many eggshells in this country. He obviously has no idea what the Supreme Court ruling was about. He just spit out talking points instead of researching and encouraging those to vote in their respective states to support their views. He's not smart. Every time he opens his gob, he reveals this even more. I didn't know that gob was also an Americanism, because we say it over here, shut your gob, stop talking. You say, shut your gob? There we go. Well, my dear, yes, they are stepping on a lot of eggshells in the country, and they're doing it with delight. They want to get a raise and a rise out of a certain proportion of America, because they know that when they split that divide, the other side of the lollipop will raise them up. So if they besmirch various quarters, various states of the United States of America, and they get attacked by them, well, the other side, and I'm not necessarily talking about left, right, Democrat, Republican, but I think we all get the general gist of where their loyalties lie, or an elite amongst a certain section. Certain quarters that they cozy up to. So, yeah, they don't care about treading over the broken glass and trying to rub the salt into certain wounds, but Hazzy Bazzy, you better beware, my dear, because you did it to old Blighty and here in the kingdom, and bit by bit, not immediately, but drip by drip over the last 2 years, more and more of us here in the kingdom have said, be gone, have it, take your nonsense, we don't like you and we don't ever want you back, more and more every day. Even in the last couple of weeks, more and more. So we certainly don't want you back, and we want an apology. And now guess what? It's America's turn, drip by drip, drop by drop. And you're seeing more and more besmirchments of him. And who's behind all this? And I hold him, don't get me wrong, do not get me wrong, I hold him more responsible than anybody. He is an adult. He is the pilot of his own plane. So he has to take the heat. But who is the air controller that he has decided to be subservient to? Who is the one directing him to? Tread on those eggshells, Harry. In Britain. In England. Tread on those eggshells. Don't be afraid, because we are the great disruptors, and we've got to let them know what's truly authentic, and give them an education, and show them what real culture is. And we can start new traditions. New values. So tread on those eggshells, Harry. Tread on them. Go on! Step on them. So he did it in England. And then, when they sped over to Montecito, she prodded and poked him into doing it all over again, didn't she? All over again. So, we've got old Blighty turned against him. Now, the States are all turning against him. And the States is right, because that's what he's going to be left in. What happens? Was she to leave him high and dry? Where would he go? What's next? Oh, yes, there's still New Zealand, isn't there? New Zealand still love him. Until they started using the Maori people to promote travel lists for their latest project. So even the old Kiwis will be turning against him next. You know, so she is going to leave him stranded, high and dry up a precipice. He can't leave her, can he? No matter what, he can't leave her. Imagine the cards there. That would be extremely dangerous. I barely even wish it on him, because that would leave him so isolated that I don't even want it. My mind doesn't even want to go there. So he can't leave her, but if she ever turns the tables and she's decided, I'd milk this cow for all it's worth. The udders are empty, my dear. The last droplets have dripped into the earth. Bye. Bye, Harold. Bye, King Harold. I'm taking my prince and my princess Lilibet, because I'm their queen, and you are no longer mentally stable, I'm afraid. So they say. You're not mentally stable enough to be in their life. So, I will FedEx you. No, I won't FedEx you my engagement ring and my wedding ring, because they were given with love, and I think that I should hold on to them for the nearest pawn shop. But I will FedEx you one of my nightgowns and a pair of my old sneakers, so that you can sit there and sniff them, and they will remind you of me in your dark, lonely hours. So we won't leave it acrimonious, but I am done with you. So thank you for serving a purpose. The Claw, Susan Fortane. Also in terms of beauty, elegance, and everything, actually. Meshan doesn't have the stature of Catherine in any sense, literally in any sense. Just look at the picture and notice how in the same outfit Catherine looks elegant and Meghan looks cheap by having the top much lower than Catherine in an attempt to show more, which is just tacky. Susan Fortane, well, actually, she wasn't wearing the exact same outfit as Catherine in those pictures. They just had a similar colour scheme with the white panel at the top and then the black dropping. And no, it didn't compare favourably. I mean, she looked fine, she looked acceptable. She didn't look a disaster, but no, she can't compete with Catherine. And you see, I've spoken to someone who is a little over the top, a little bit melodramatic, but has met both Catherine and Meghan, and actually has attended meetings with both of them in their capacity when they were working together. Actually, it was during the Heads Together kind of period, when they were promoting all of that affair. And they actually think that one of the, if not the sole reason that she wanted out and across the pond was because she was actually suffering from the photographs of them together. She couldn't handle seeing them in the newspapers and in the press, and seeing the difference in stature, elegance, and height. And when she wasn't pictured with Catherine, the press and the newspapers would make a fuss over Meghan because she was a very attractive woman, I believe, and she still has absolutely nothing wrong with her at all. But, you know, it's the same as standing Katie Price next to Giselle Bündchen. You know, all of a sudden the celebrated, or formerly celebrated, pin-up is looking rather grim next to the real thing. You know what I mean? And what I was told by this person is that it was their hunch, should we put it that way, that it was painful for Meghan to be pictured together with the press. It hurt her ego. And looking at some pictures, I can see what she means. And in fairness to Meghan, I mean, at least she tried with some of those hats. Because in some of them she just looked really quite comical, and I can quite understand why she might have felt like some sort of charade, some kind of imposter syndrome might have been getting to her a bit because she just couldn't carry it off. You can fake a lot of things, but a natural, real class, in the English tradition, no, you can't. It looked like exactly what it was, you know. A Hollywood starlet who'd stumbled into the wrong dressing room of the English period costume and donned a hat and a big button-up coat and, ooh, I'm royal. And the effect was not authentic, my dear. And I suppose that's something that she just can't help. We have another set of proud Windsor teeth coming through, don't we, my dear? Those strong Windsor teeth, so fiercely set in the gums, with young Prince George, and this photograph taken by Kate, another splendid photograph of George there. He will require some orthodontic work in the coming years, just like any other adolescent, so we look forward to the finished result there. But 9 years old, happy birthday, Georgie. Georgie-Porgie, enjoy it while you can. And the Irish Guards performed a wonderful rendition of Happy Birthday to the Bairn. How lovely. Annie was out and about doing royal work, as she always does. This time she was in her capacity as patron at the MND Encourage event. MND standing for motor neurone disease, so doing very good work for them, mixing with people living with motor neurone disease and also various researchers who are developing their skills and working in careers in that direction. So that thankless, tireless work that is personally very rewarding, I would imagine, but goes largely unseen. Exactly the kind of work that Meghan was completely allergic to, couldn't understand. What's the point? What's the point of doing work, Harry, if it can't be seen and photographed and we can't invite a celebrity or two along? I don't understand. You know, she seemed to have an absolute fundamental misapprehension of what royal life was going to be about. Charles and Camilla were photographed thanking Falklands veterans for their sacrifice and service at a party aboard the HMS Queen Elizabeth. It was one of the 40th anniversary celebrations of the war, and Charles was looking resplendent in his bling-bling medals. Thank you for all the birthday greetings you left me over the last week. Yes, towards the end of the Cancerian time is when my birthday lies. And now, if we haven't already, I think we've already moved over to Leo, haven't we? But thank you for the birthday comments and the birthday tips you sent me. And if I made you chuckle, well, you can make my day, my dear. Just throw a dime or two in the tip jar or the thanks button. Thank you very much. And I look forward to seeing you in the next broadcast. We can have another cosy, catty catch-up. And we'll show the talented one who's really got the claws, won't we, my dear? Because some of us have little soft lion pads that look oh so dainty and oh so harmless. But if we're provoked, we know how to scratch back. You weren't betting on that, were you, my dear? Ta-ra, my darling. See you in the next broadcast. Doodle pip!